think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction. One last midnight, brothers and sisters opting out of a raw deal.
Do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not.
I thought you meant recently.
No, not recently. No. I've been steady as a rock, man. You could build a church on top of me, like a whole religion.
Oh,
Holy
like
fuck.
you're our Peter?
I am. Yeah, that's right. I am your rock. Unless I'm, it's more of a Dwayne Johnson thing, though, isn't it? Is that guy's name, The Rock?
That is his name, yeah.
The Rock, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I watched
pretend
a
like you don't know
fitness
Dwayne
video
Johnson.
that accused him of juicing.
What?
I watched a fitness video today that was accusing him of juicing.
Of course.
Yeah.
Sorry,
There's no way.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's like hidden. He's like 50 years old, and he looks like he looks like fucking Adonis.
Yeah.
Well, that was kind of the thrust of this art. Like the guy's like, I never looked at him and thought he wasn't, but it, that's not. It's not like he's ever saying that he's not.
Yeah, it's like, I'm pretty sure it's like well known that testosterone like tapers off around 40, and then like basically like decreases dramatically, and then basically levels out, and then sort of holds you in some type of like a holding period, and then you just sort of like lose till you die. You don't get bigger and bigger and badder.
Not like that. Not like him. That's for sure.
No. You can build. No. You should be able to maintain muscle. I don't know that you could build like that without. You can't build like that without assistance.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Whatever him and Stallone are up to, it's.
Stallone's like open. He's a big.
He's an advocate of human growth hormone.
Yeah. He's like everybody should take this after 50.
Fucking right.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure that he's I don't know if he's wrong, honestly. I guess we'll see how the rest of his life goes, but it seems to be working for him.
The only question is just like, what's the long-term effects, right? Like if there's no consequence.
If the long-term effects are that you're like an 80-year-old that can still do chin-ups, I'm not sure that I'm seeing anything to cry about right now.
Yeah.
Because like I saw him doing chin-ups with a fucking plate or a couple plates like chained to his waist, like recently.
Right.
How old is he?
I don't know. I shudder to think, though. Actually, let's place our bets. I think he's pushing 60.
I think he's
no.
Got to be in his 70s.
He's 76. Holy shit.
Oh.
Okay, well, that just goes to man, I take that shit back. Holy fuck.
He's got a couple good Rambo movies in him left.
I'm pretty sure he can't.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure HGH is illegal in Canada.
Well, that's the first thing. Okay, so Trudeau is just going to like kill mentally ill people, but he's not going to give us mutant growth hormone? What the fuck?
No, Justin's a liability. Yeah.
Yeah. in our quest for the fountain of youth. Yeah. What a
soft on everything.
Soft
on everything. Just going to let me get old and senile without being strong.
Yeah, so that way the state can kill us. No problem.
Here's the guns. Yeah. Conspiracy. Giving us marijuana so that we lose our motivation to become Hulks in our 80s.
That's right.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I got no guns. I got no HGH. I got a bunch of the fuck.
Yeah.
Drinking out of a paper cup. Got a fucking electric car. Just
it's the future of Canada. Welcome to 2023.
I can't believe you haven't watched Beavis and Butthead either.
Oh, okay. So have you seen it?
No.
Nor have I.
No, it's just it's like Rotten Tomatoes seems to think that it's pretty good. So I was like, oh fuck. Like I can't imagine it's actually going to be good because, Rotten Tomatoes as an aggregator is a piece of shit. But
when has Mike Judge gone wrong in the last 20 years, really?
I saw that. Did he? Okay, so he did The Office. What was that other movie he did? Like Sauce or fucking. What was the one after that? It was about like this guy who owns a factory that makes fucking soy sauce or something like that.
Oh Jesus, I don't know what that is.
I'll tell you, I didn't finish it. All
right.
The Office.
Well, there's Silicon Valley though is awesome.
Okay, I didn't know that was him, and I
Yeah.
ain't seen it.
Okay, it's great.
Extract. There we go.
I think you should
not
watch
even heard of that.
Jackass though.
Oh, for sure. I'm gonna watch both, man. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it right. Get the full 2020. Speaking of 2020 movies, 2022 movies. Sorry. George Miller put out. This didn't end up in my like top 5 for because who gives a shit what ends up in my top 5?
What are you talking about? Mad Max?
Yeah, Mad Max guy. He put out a movie called 3,000 Years of Longing, and it stars Idris Elba, and he plays a genie, and Tilda Swinton plays.
Yeah,
plays
it looks.
a scholar.
It really looks a bit fucking disturbing.
It's very good.
Holy shit.
And I'll tell you right now, if you like Sandman, you're gonna like this. You're gonna like this movie. It's right in that. And it looks great. It's George Miller. I don't know his full filmography or whatever. I haven't watched all of his movies, but it feels like a real departure, and it's more like a play. It's more like it's more like a play, but obviously there's stories within the story, and
That sounds great.
yeah. I think Chris, I feel very confident recommending it to you. James, Idris Elba, probably up your alley.
I like Idris. He's
Yeah.
just so handsome.
He's very handsome.
It's an inescapable fact.
You can't beat around that bush.
Yeah. Much as I'd
I
like
also
to.
Whoa. Also Tilda Swinton's so charming. I'm in love with her, but that's a lifestyle choice.
She's in. I just feel like she showed up a lot in movies this year. Some I haven't seen yet, but some I have, and it's been a good Swinton year, good Swinton crop. I don't know, you don't always get that. Her and Mel Gibson.
I think if you just like form a circle, she just appears.
That's right.
Do you
like Kevin Bacon?
Yeah, that's right.
She's not fussy about the movies she makes. I can't, she'll go from Doctor Strange to, I don't know, Snowpiercer. She was in that.
Yeah,
she was.
She's directed before as well.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, I believe that. I don't know.
I guess she was in that Pinocchio with
the new one.
That Guillermo did.
Yeah,
That
that's
I
another
haven't
one I
seen
haven't seen yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot to pick up on.
It's got great reviews.
Yeah. I got to cut the line. I got to draw the line this year. I can't do what I did last year. So Pinocchio might end up on the chopping block, and maybe some other day he'll be a real boy for me. But no dice.
Pretty negative.
You guys want
Pinocchio.
You guys, speaking of fairy tales, there we go. You guys want to talk about some Sandman?
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. So I don't have my copy of Fables and Reflections anymore, like the original trade paperback. So I'm piecing my shit together from the deluxe editions. But
I was gonna say apparently I don't either with the deluxe edition.
Yeah, because like 3 of the issues. Well, okay, because here's why. All right, so this trade paperback, it collects issue 29 through 31, and then the Sandman special, and then 38 through 40, and then 50. And so basically, it's like comics from August to October 1991. And then you jump to, including a November 1991, and then you got June to August 1992, and then June 1993. So like there's a year of development within Sandman and within Neil Gaiman's, I don't know, craft at this point. And it's a very uneven collection, and it not only is it spread out amongst time, like they fucked around with the issue of, like in the collected edition, like it starts off, if I remember, with 3 Septembers and a January, but that's issue 31. And so it's just all out of order, and it's frustrating because it's a bad ordering, it's a bad collection. This is all my opinion. You guys might disagree. And then one of the complaints that we've had up until now is like, why are you including all this filler shit? Like if you're going to be so cavalier with all these issues, why weren't you cavalier with all the other issues? And you could have created a much better product somehow, or you could have just printed it in order, like God intended. And I don't know. Anyway, that's my rant. Looking at all of this, it infuriates me.
That's fair. I'd never read this volume, and for the reason I mentioned to you guys that like I just didn't, after reading the story, I didn't really care to go back to just see a bunch of like scattered one shots, and I don't really regret that decision, even though there's good stuff in here. There's some stuff where it's like, oh, like Daniel appeared again before the end of the series, like that's nice to see. Just you know, and you get a little Cain and Abel stuff, some good character moments, but I have to say I really like the Distant Mirror stories, and the rest of it I was not so hot on. Well, with some exceptions.
Yeah, the Distant Mirror ones. Those are like Thermidor and August and 3 Septembers, right?
Yeah, and then the Ramadan.
Right. Okay.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was good. I didn't think I was gonna like it, and then I dialed right into it. Ramadan.
Yeah. So I don't know. Let's go with the order that you guys would have. I'll let you take the lead because am I right that it starts off with 3 Septembers and a January? The one where that. Oh, go on.
Let's go chronologically, I think, because I had to I couldn't find a copy and I just pieced it together online. So this was a real pain in the ass to do that with, by the way.
Okay.
You mean the King of America?
Yeah, the Emperor guy.
Yeah, that sucked.
Okay. Go on.
It was
I'm curious.
It was I don't know. It was like a hobo story. I like the clever I like the idea that it just doesn't make and it's part of it just doesn't make sense. I like the idea that Morpheus stepped in to sort of I don't know, almost like make that guy's life better or like sort of save his soul from despair kind of. But that doesn't make sense. It's not in keeping with what him and his sisters normally do.
That's fair.
I don't know. I just thought that's bizarre. Also, despair is really gross. I don't see the point of making the one character grosser than all the rest and not wear clothes. Since, I'm in fucking despair by watching that, but yeah. And it's just it was so pointless. He was a bum, and that's great, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's fair. We don't need to nitpick about Morpheus's motivations here, but obviously at first he's I don't want to do this. I don't fuck around with this, but he's feeling guilty because one of the family members has just left. And so he's okay, for the sake of the family. And yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe this Morpheus from the early 19th century, maybe it is very inappropriate for him to act this way, given what we've seen before, and the sort of callousness of him before he was imprisoned. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like this one.
I like this one a lot.
Yeah,
really?
It didn't.
Okay.
Well, I like the idea. I like the general conceit of I think more. Gaiman goes back to the well. When despair's oh, what are dreams? And he's well, people wouldn't despair without dreams, and people wouldn't desire without dreams, and madness wouldn't exist without dreams. He doesn't say that, but it's kind of implied that though his 3 sisters are contained within him.
I noticed that too. I like the idea that he's recycling his material. When he goes to hell, he basically gives Lucifer the same line, which is a dramatic moment, but it's he's done this before. He's got this speech prepared. It's on
not the first time. Yeah. What did you like about it, Chris?
Yeah, I was gonna ask too.
Yeah, I think it's just this idea, starting with a wager, a competition. That's always a fun conceit. This guy, this Emperor Norton, was a real historical figure. From what I understand, this King of America, the Emperor of America, and taking him and weaving a story around him where, I think I just enjoyed seeing the ways that he doesn't fall into desire or despair or delirium. And so this, you're getting this sort of distinction of these kingdoms or these domains. And, even though delirium says, he should be mine, but he isn't, his madness keeps him sane. I don't know. It was a neat way to look at madness.
I think about that line all the time. Like it's such a. I wish it wasn't commented on in the introduction to Fables and Reflections as some sort of really deep remark because it makes me feel like, "Ugh." But it's a really deep remark, and I think about it, about humans all the time. I just think about like watching everybody walk around being fucking insane, but also not.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's the thing that keeps us going. And I don't know. I just that it's one of those moments where Gaiman manages to, I don't know, in spite of himself, say something clever.
That's what it is. One of the most interesting things to me is just belief and like how, yeah, we all have these different world maps, but do they get us through the day without, harm or do they cause harm? Here you have a guy who just by the virtue of believing that he's the emperor and like, he's pretty nice about it, but just like, I don't care if they laugh at me, I'm still their emperor. And then people just start this tourist industry of going to see him and he sells them, like his own like emperor bucks or whatever. Yeah, it was pretty neat. Like everything that he needed was taken care of because people looked out for him. They were just, he's sort of like a tourist feature.
And it's thematically resonant with everything that Morpheus, like this question of kingdoms and stories, and like just the fact that he forces that dignity, that rank upon the world. Everybody like they make fun of him, but they also accept him. And he, like, and he, it makes a mockery of money as a thing, like as he starts printing his own money, and he gets actual, like spendable money with it, but it just, like it's just this imaginary object that has value, and that people can assign value to, um, and then yeah, I guess maybe it's kind of like also like I'm not going to say like, well, I'm going to say it like a King Lear thing, where the fool and the king and that sort of thing. Obviously, there's not any parallel there, but just like kind of that idea. Yeah, there's a lot going on in this one, and it's fun, and it's just a fun story that says a couple things, and kind of you sit with it and think about the fact that this was a real dude, and this kind of stuff really happened. That I don't know, it's neat. It gives you some food for thought, and it's drawn well.
It's nice to have another endless story, like where you're kind of getting more of a sense of their domain. And I really enjoyed Death's moment at the end where she collects him and tells him that story about the I'm not going to be able to pronounce this, the 36 Serakim, which this idea that the world actually rests on the backs of 36 living saints and unselfish men, and only because of their acts that the world continues to exist. They're the secret kings and queens of the world. And then she kind of like humors him at the end, like I've met a lot of kings and queens, but I like you the best.
I think I like you best, yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's like I don't know. There's like a little bit of like I guess like a charm to and I guess like there's that moment where he gets to like retain his dream and his dignity, and then he gets basically, because of that, he gets to be like escorted in a better way through death. Because you all go to death, right? But yeah, but if you're escorted through madness or despair, that's not the way to go, right? But yeah, I don't know. I didn't like that there was like a competition between the sisters and him, because I just don't feel like that's told so far.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, it is a retcon. There's even little seeds planted when after Desire is beaten, she's raving at the end. She's not here, not with Norton, but I'll make him spill family blood. I'll bring the kindly ones down on his blasted head. And it's already been revealed that she tried to get him to kill Rose, the Vortex, way back when. And so the implication is this is like a retcon and an explanation for like a future story. Whether you buy that or not is a different matter, but actually,
and I guess there was another moment earlier too, where like in one of the maybe the second book, where they did like interfere with each other. Like, I guess for fun.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Desire for sure. Desire definitely. I think this is a shitty motivation for Desire to have like kicked off basically like Dream's potential death. Just over the fact that like he got some bum to not like want to have sex. Like that's pretty cheap.
I didn't see it that way. I thought it was sort of like a continuing simmering, of things that she's always, or that they're always upset with Dream about.
Mm-hmm. It's possible. I would hope so, but I mean, if you just had this one comic to go after, that would
true. That'd be horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, but so there's a lot under the hood, but again, one of the things about these one shots is it's more meditative. Like it's a kind of a fun story, and then you're left with it afterwards to sort of think about it, which is not a bad thing exactly, but I don't know what else there is to say about this Emperor story. It's kind of a cute idea.
Yeah, I like this cycle. Like I like the idea of these different. It's like 4 different emperors and how dreams or vision interact with what makes them a good or a bad emperor. That's kind of an interesting conceit.
Yeah. What's the next one after 3 Septembers in the Fables? Because we ended up starting with issue 31.
It's the Thermidor.
It's Thermidor's up next. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
This one, okay. So James, maybe I'll kick it. How did you feel about Thermidor?
This I liked. This because this had continuity, and then it's sort of like you started with the end of oh man, I'm not going to pronounce it right. Orpheus. Yeah. So you started with sort of Orpheus decapitated, and I like, for me, I was going in blind. I didn't know we were, and also I didn't know that well, I should have known, I guess, but Neil's sort of weaving other myths into, or like in fairy tales, I guess, which hence the name of the book, into his own world as well. So that's starting to happen now, or more so. And then I liked her imprisonment. I liked how disgusting like that time period was, the decapitated heads and the sort of like I don't know, like false politics, and it was I don't know. This was a cool story.
Yeah, I'd like obviously in our little chat I sent a thing fussing about Robespierre, and I know Neil's already responded to me through another, like, not to me personally, but to that particular criticism in one of his interviews. But yeah, I'm not sure what the fascination is in Vertigo comics, because what's his nose, Morrison's going to go to this well as well, and actually there's 2 similarities between like early Invisibles and these Sandman comics that we've read. But yeah, I'm not sure what the fascination with the French Revolution is at this time.
I almost wonder if Morrison picked up on this one. I was like, yeah, I'm going to include the French Revolution too.
Yeah, it's 1991, so like it would have been 3 years before the Invisibles. I don't know. Yeah. I think that's too remote, but maybe. Anyway, what were you going to say, James?
No, I was going to say too was like this was I think I just read through it and just sort of turned it off because I wasn't sure what was going on with the Song of Orpheus at the end and stuff. And everything like obviously makes more sense once you start getting the background stories on everything as you go through the book.
Yeah, you're right. There is a nice continuity or a nice circularity to, you get this story of Orpheus first, and then you kind of see how it happened, how that rift. Because Morpheus is a deadbeat dad here. Like, did he talk about me? Just a severed head, just waiting to hear like anything from his dad.
Yeah, so this is like basically she's almost like a contractor. I don't know. That's come to like basically deliver him to his resting place or whatever, or back to his resting place. How he ended up there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like she shows up in that. I don't know if you remember this, but in the oh god, the Hob story where he meets in the tavern over and over every 100 years. Joanne Constantine shows up and like waylays them, and she's like, I know who you are. I'm getting the drop on you, and Morpheus subdues her, but then now it's sort of like he's coming to her with a project.
And I like that it's a Constantine. I think that's a nice way of having a Constantine in these stories without John Constantine. And in typical Gaiman, this makes it sound like I'm being negative about this, but in typical Gaiman sort of feminist fashion, it's a female John Constantine. She's just as tough and just as capable as any man, right? And it operates at a same sort of level. And it's just sort of very, very appropriate for Sandman and its themes and interests.
I like that there's this kind of James Bond thing going on with like Saint Just, who like basically just wants to fuck, and like they have this sort of like I don't know, he's kind of like her Bond girl, like whatever, if you want to do that inversion.
Right. Yeah. It's weird to think that he got her to go get. I don't know why Morpheus can't be involved. Like, and I guess maybe he's so petulant,
Yeah, because he put his foot down. He's like, "You're dead to me."
Yeah, but I can't just leave you there for, hundreds of years, or they're gonna like obliterate him. But he can't die. So I guess he's just trying to stop him from having a charred skull for a life.
He often does that though, like corrects problems by doing like a half-assed roundabout effort, Like,
yeah, maybe it's more fun that way.
Yeah,
it's almost kind of sick. That's about as low as you could get. I mean, it's your own son. You're like an immortal that's been fucking reduced to a head. That's fucking god awful. And then think that you got fucking toyed around with like a bunch of people from the French Revolution, like looking for you, cutting bits off you, having weird inane conversations with fucking James Bond lady. It's just shitty. Like, and to think he could just like, he could intervene at any time and say, okay, you're a god, this isn't right. Let's just set this straight and at least put you to rest. Like, no, fuck that. He still has to do it in a half-assed way. Like, he's so abusive. Like,
it's true. He has to put up with this revolution of like smarmy Frenchmen too. There's that scene where the two guys are like, they're threatening Joanne Constantine, and he calls her like my little cabbage.
That's I guess that's
I guess that's what people said. I don't know.
And my little cabbage. Yeah, well,
little
that's
cabbage.
It's cute. Yeah, I guess if you put a French accent on anything, it just kind of anti-remover.
Then they threaten that he like roundabout threatens to have her raped before decapitating and turning her into a marionette, and then basically decides to starve her. And then they get fucking duped, but
and they get duped, and so this is maybe, and this isn't the biggest problem with this comic. This comic doesn't. I think this problem has a comic in that I don't think it actually says anything that it thinks it's saying.
I don't know about that.
Okay, well, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
But the other problem is that Constantine, she ends up in the prison stuck, and so Dream has to save her anyway. So he sends this agent who's about to fail, and he has to intervene and like give them a dream, in order to trick them into going into the basement where Orpheus's head has been hidden. Yeah, it just seemed, well, why? Well, cut out the fucking middleman on this one, dude. Like, you're doing like all the work anyway.
It's like that old sitcom gag of like, could you please have your father pass the peas? Like, the two family members won't talk to each other.
Yeah, no, I get it, and this is what it looks like amongst the endless.
It is dumb. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but it. So okay, so what is this? What is this story saying? Like, I know what's it? I can guess at what I think I have an idea about what I think it's saying, but I'm not sure it's really not sure I buy it maybe. But so what do you think?
Well, I don't know if, historical accuracy being one thing.
Mhm.
I think that you'll quibble with this on those grounds, but Robespierre, he's this sort of figure of a revolution that has lost the dream behind it, so it becomes just brutal reality, right? So it's he wants to destroy myth, he wants to create a world of pure reason. He's
Mhm.
fanatical about it, and what this story wants to say is that without your Thomas Paines, the guy who's providing inspiration, the guy with the dream behind it, you're gonna just end up with brutality. And that that whole puppet show, like the what do they have? What is their art? It's this puppet show of like these severed bodies with severed heads being made to dance. Like that's what
Mhm.
art's gonna look like under this regime. It's just a ghastly thing without play.
Mhm. Yeah, well, you're right. I will quibble with it on historical grounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like, and Gaiman in the interviews, like, you probably read this in the companion to the Sandman. He was like, after I wrote this story, someone sent me their high school thesis
That's
about
right.
Robespierre, and he was like, and Gaiman's response is, well, like, I wasn't telling that kind of story, and I'm like, and that's always going to frustrate me as a reader of fiction, because like, why go to the nonfiction well if you're not going to engage with it in a way that has something to say about actual historical events, and actual, like, because otherwise you're setting up a straw man. And humanity is much more complex than that, and the French Revolution and the Terror was much more complex, and it was driven by it was driven largely by conspiracy fears, like the story that could have been told and that was available to Gaiman, like, research wise, was missed completely for this placid, not placid, sort of a trite, music will soothe the savage beast story.
That's true, or at least speaks truth to power, or whatever the message
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
I think a critical part of this is something else he says in that interview, where this was the first time he ever had to scramble to do research.
I thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think he's just sort of like, a story came together. Okay, I need him to be the villain, and I'm just let's make it work.
Yeah, no, I did think about that, and I thought about how it would be, how unfair I'm being, but at the end of the day, that's not my problem.
True.
Like,
Yeah.
like, the work is the work once you're done with it, and it's a good thing to say about this comic. We'll do like the bullshit sandwich. So we said some good things, and that's the bad thing, and now we're gonna go back to the good. I do like the image of Orpheus on that pile of bodies. Like Gaiman does have an eye for the grotesque still, and it's sometimes like this would have been shortly after Season of Mist, and so it makes sense that there's some grotesquerie afterwards, and like, about rulership of hell, and yeah, there's much more of a well, we've already said there's a continuity, but like, in context, it would have felt even more like a continuity, I think. Except for the art, man, I miss Dringenberg so bad, in this instance.
This was so wordy too, and it was written in cursive. It wasn't good, guys. This wasn't it. It was like, I don't know. I'm like stammering on this one because it just didn't do anything. Like I I got to go back after we read the rest of the book and just go, okay.
Yeah.
Other than outside of that, like, what happened? We reestablished what Morpheus was going to do with his son after he became a severed head. That got retold at the end in a better way anyway.
That's true.
So it's just like, fuck is this? Anyway.
I'm glad you brought up the cursive, because this is a major failing on Todd Klein's part. Kind of, like, really the only one that I can think of, like, for my money anyway. I was like, it was repulsive. I like it, not in the sense it was gross. I just couldn't look at it. I couldn't, and I could see what he was trying to do, and he did an excellent job of, like, some of the letters are thicker because it's ink, right? And it's all
great. Yeah, it's very. It has a nice aesthetic. Like, when you're looking at like, you know, in terms of like, if I'm looking at this as like a pure art page, when I'm looking at those cursive letters written, and I'm looking at the Orpheus singing on the pile of heads like you described, that's great. It's beautiful. But then you go like actually like hunker down and go to read it, and I write and read cursive, you know, without any issues. But it's fucking awful. It's unreadable almost. It's just a hack. It's just a hack job. I don't know.
Yeah, it slowed me down too. And this one was very, very wordy. And you know, that I don't know if Gaiman's really like that. I mean, he'll have a lot of words, but
why did he make it wordy if he didn't even research it?
Well, he did research. He did. Let's be fair.
I'm just
like he even sort of cites some of the books that he read, and I was like, okay, well, that's kind of legit. But I was like, yeah. Anyway, that's just a fussy historian's complaint. It's not really important. The story is the story. Yeah.
So August is pretty wordy too, but not. I found this one like just great.
Yeah. And this is a Brian Talbot joint.
Wait, what are you guys on? I'm on The Hunt.
Is that next in your volume?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't it all fucked up? It's wild. Wow. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The Caesar one, the one in Rome with the little person actor.
Sorry, let me.
Oh, that's all right. Right. Yeah, Brian Talbot.
Oh yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. August. Okay.
And this one, yeah, I guess I just think about it more. It's much easier to read, even though wordy. I think as we already said, and yeah, I think it just comes down to the artist in this instance.
That's true. I have a real thing about Augustus too. I just find him fascinating. Like one of the few examples of like a strong man who actually seemed to have the good of a nation in mind. Although it's really like he's so there's so many angles on it. Like he's so subtle in the ways that he worked, and like you could question that for sure.
Mm-hmm. I don't know a thing about him. I know some things. Like, don't get me wrong, but I've never read a biography, and I don't. Probably my longest engagement, and actually no, that's not even. He's not in I, Claudius, is he?
Yeah,
no,
he is. Yeah.
Is he?
No,
okay, right
at the start, it's
he's
sort of like an older man. Yeah.
Yeah. Roman history, Roman Empire, emperors. I find Roman history itself interesting. I don't find the emperors themselves very interesting because I just question sources. Like this is mostly from Suetonius. And,
it was like just making shit up left, right, and center.
And I'm sure there's all sorts of correctives, but anyway, it's just there's so much to read in the world. Never got around to it. Not sure I ever will. But I understand he was a guy. So this story is again about kings, about kingdoms, and about dreams
and power.
Yeah, in a way, but it's also about sexual violence in a way that has been threatened against women in Sandman up until this point. And this idea of patriarchy is frequently recurring, and in this it recurs in a way that like it's sexual violence of the patriarchy is endemic within the patriarchy itself, like amongst men and amongst male leaders, even in the greatest, not like even in the Roman Empire, amongst these great strong men, like what is the thing that haunts him is the violence of patriarchy. I don't think I'm being too hyperbolic in making that claim in a Sandman comic.
No.
It feels very of a piece, and it's an excellent reversal at the very end. When that fact is revealed. Anyway, so I like this one. Oh, did I lose you? Oh no,
we're here. It's exactly that idea that, given the choice, having been initiated into power this way, where like Caesar like literally rapes him and says, if you submit to this, like I will make you a god, basically. That it's obviously the trauma that stays with him all his life, and that idea of he has this prophecy that Rome will either be two things. It will be like an iron imperium that lasts forever, basically the Philip K. Dick version, right? Like the empire never died. Or it'll slowly crumble and just like go decadent and be destroyed over time. He chooses to sabotage it because the alternative is that replicating cycle of violence forever and ever.
Yeah, but that never stopped. So shit, man, you just blew my mind. Like, okay, so he may have done this, but the Philip K. Dick version survived regardless. Shit. That's my reading now. That's my headcanon. Thank you for that.
Damn.
Yeah. How'd you feel about this one, James? Putting aside all that
I don't know.
fancy talk.
Well, that's how he was. I mean, that's how he was handed the crown, right? That was given down to him through sodomy or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I took away the more that sort of one-liner. No man knows the future. It behooves us all to walk with care. When the rich guy. Or the not rich guy, but he basically like they were talking, and it just described a scenario where you could be more fortunate at one time than you are later because you can't tell the future. So you should walk with care with your behavior, with your money, with your power, with your influence. And that it was this is way offbeat, but the reason that spoke to me was because I actually spoke to somebody in my personal life that came upon luck and wealth when he was younger, and then had a really bad series of things happen to him during COVID, and he thought back on it that was coming for him. He told me that he felt like that was coming for him, like that there was going to be a time where he would owe that back.
Right.
And I found that very bizarre. And then I read that little quote and thought, oh, that's so fucking interesting. It was in the same day that I read them both.
Right.
That man told me that story, and then I read that, and I don't know. That's sort of what I took away from the whole little tale.
Yeah, I like that. It is the most powerful man in Rome. It's and in order to, I guess once a year he's not to humble himself, but to think safely. He has to pretend to be a bum for the whole day.
It's a celebrity thing. He has to hide in sight in order to even see the streets.
Even from the gods too, like the gods won't recognize him.
Yeah, and I, like on a very like superficial level, I really like the conversation between them. It's propulsive. Like nothing happens in this comic, right? Like very little, and so. If you're no good with the dialogue, you're gonna this is gonna be a rough one.
Well, because they're just sitting on a stoop together. It was one of the heavier reads in the book. Yeah,
I really appreciate like Caesar's awareness of his own power. Just those sort of like moments where he's like, are you not afraid of me? Like or those whatever happened to Cicero. I had him killed.
Yeah,
I'm fast, I'm strong, and if I want, you disappear.
Yeah, and the relationship, like there's at no point you don't get the sense that he loves this guy that he's with, Aristeus, or no, that's the dude we're going to meet later. Did I ever write this guy's name down?
Lysias?
Maybe, sure. Anyway, the little guy.
Because he has such contempt for theater, right? Like, and this is, I believe, true to form, where you just saw it as this decadent thing and banned nobility from participating. But this guy because he's a little person. It was the only career open to him, really, or his way of making money. So he permitted an exception.
Yeah. Yeah, Lysias, you're absolutely right. I had to go and look it up. And then he's telling the story at the end. Like it's yeah, he's like a scribe at the end. He's got lots of money. He's really sort of made it in life. And he's pondering this story that we have more insight than he does. Yeah, there's two narrators. There's like the, what do we want to call it? Like orange captions, and then there's the written text, which, as we've already said, is legible. And yeah, that's nice. It's a nice, it's good stuff. This is Gaiman working his magic. This would have been, again, what, issue 30, something like that. Very welcome after Season of Mist, I think, anyway.
Did you guys have the hunt after this?
No, it doesn't come for a while.
What the hell?
Yeah. It doesn't come until after we talk about Sandman, the Song of Orpheus. Then it's the hunt.
So
then
are you guys on
Parliament of
Marco
Brooks.
Polo next?
That's Soft Places. That's later. After this, it's the okay. We already did 3 September, so we already did.
Mine's
okay,
whack.
so now, okay, so I guess we're doing the Song of Orpheus now, right? Another Brian Talbot joint.
That's the Sandman special.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's next, right? I think so. And then I know you're excited.
I'll defer to you guys.
I know you guys are excited about Marco Polo, but you want to talk about that Marco Polo comic? Let's do it right now.
Do you want it?
Yeah,
let's just do it. Yeah, fucking
okay.
fine.
Why are you so mad about this? The art is bad?
Yeah, man, I could not read this goddamn comic. It repulsed me. I keep using that word. Yeah, it just drove me right away. And then like the text, and like, I'm not a lazy man, but I could not fucking read this comic. And then when I did, I was like, why did I read this? Like, his superpower is that he describes cities really well. Like, who gives a shit? I was like, this means nothing and does nothing. And
wow,
it looks terrible.
Okay.
And yeah, no thanks. So I'm sure maybe it does some stuff. But.
All right, James, did you think it looked terrible?
I didn't. No,
I didn't either. I actually like this art.
I mean, there were some parts that were like, there's a couple parts actually that I'm gonna come out and blame the inker. I don't know who the inker is.
It's the same guy. It's the same guy.
It's the same artist. Well, he fucked up his own book by inking.
Yeah.
He should have had a professional do it instead of getting his paws in there. But yeah, his demon stuff was okay, and I liked his faces. Once they got going,
Morpheus looked cool.
Okay, yeah. I'll give you that. And then whenever he did that woodcut kind of imagery, that looked great.
Like the ghosts, the spirits you're talking about, right?
No, it's earlier on. There's a part. Well, actually, there are ghosts and spirits. You're right. Yeah, and
I think they look fantastic, distinct, and like something born out of sand or something like.
Okay. Well, there's later on. There's also like the I don't know whoever they are. The soldiers on horseback.
Right.
That's a different style. I'm not referring to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So tell me, guys, freely discourse, and maybe I'll chime in or maybe not. I read this 5 minutes before we started talking, so it's not really. It's fresh, but not considered.
Fair.
We got nothing to talk about, do you? That's right.
That's
right.
I mean, it's not the heaviest issue, right? It's like it's this idea of these soft spaces, this sort of like times are blurring. You get a return of Gilbert, which is nice to see. It's kind of leading this conversation between the guy from the future who described Marco Polo's thing and then young Marco Polo who hasn't been there yet. Some charming like dream talk, like you're a dream. You like I don't need to worry. Dreams don't have to worry. You'll be fine. And I don't know. I kind of like the going to this themes of empire. You have the this idea of the Kublai Khan and all of his his fantastic cities, and then I just like Dream's accusation that it's the explorers, it's the rational people who start to destroy and unravel wonder. Sort of an interesting take.
Yeah, and
It's
the
that whole
soft
project
places
of
are.
enlightenment.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems.
The
Go on.
the soft places are the cool thing for me, or what that I took away, that there are places that like blur where you can find these gods and interact with them and still sort of, I don't know, end up wandering back to where you're from, and that's that I feel like opens up more of his other stories or explains more, because at the end for the Ramadan story, they have that he like basically in the basement of the castle in Baghdad has access to a soft place, basically, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't be able to access these people or gods, or
It's kind of a Bermuda Triangle story. Once you go in, you don't come out, right? And you end up in this
But that's not
Twilight
necessarily
Zone.
the thing, because a lot of them do come out. or there are ways out, there are rules, obviously, right?
Yeah, I suppose so. I guess
Stupid theme throughout the book.
I'm not sure that if this is about world building and about like explaining something, like we've already seen kind of some of that in Dream of a Thousand Cats, like this idea that reality is malleable through the force of dream, and and it's or through coordinated action. Time and reality can be rewritten. Not that that's what this story's implying, but I guess at the end of the day, I neither need nor want an explanation for magic. Just in the same way, I don't need an explanation for why Superman flies.
Yeah. As you said that, it reminded me of the interviews where Neil said that he wrote this as an escape, like as an out, in case he changed his mind about the end of the stories. He'd have a place where Morpheus could go or escape to.
Interesting.
Through this mechanism of the soft places. But without that change in the ending, it does become. I'm not gonna like. If you want to say this issue is a little bit pointless, I can't fault you too much on that. It doesn't really do a lot.
But it could have.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And yeah, it's interesting. It's fine. Like it's good in the sense that it's better than the majority of things that you're going to read. So I can't be too much of a shithead about it. I just if I skipped it, and I felt once I read it that I hadn't made the bad decision.
That's fair.
In the same way that like with Fables and Reflections in general, it's kind of skippable, except for the Orpheus special, which I feel is actually kind of essential to the entire comic, even though it is too long and kind of an unnecessary retelling of a very well-known myth.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
You're talking about the Song of Orpheus?
Yeah.
Should we flip over to that one then?
Yeah, unless there's any more of the Marco Polo thing.
I don't think anyone's gonna battle this. I'm having a hard time talking about any of this stuff.
That's true, man. Yeah. Like these. And I don't think it's your fault. I think that these are. I think what happens with a collection of one shots is it's just too many one shots. It's too many. You can't put this many in a row and have them not have a through line in order to, like, it works on a monthly serialized basis. I think I would have really liked to have read these things originally in their proper order, and I think it really does a disservice to all these issues, which are like as a one shot, as a short 3-month kind of little space, a little breather before the next story.
Yeah, you want it to add up to something because you're reading a whole volume of them.
Yeah.
But we're in the soft places instead.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
It's just like smattering of shitty.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Sandman special.
Yeah. I have this. This is the other comic that I have, like the actual Sandman comic that I have.
You own
it
the
has,
Song of Orpheus?
Yeah, and it has a
You-
glow in the
you
dark
creep.
cover.
Nice.
I guess they were seeing because it was 92. No, it's November 1991, and the speculator market is kicking in, and Sandman's got a lot of juice, and they gave it a glow in the dark cover. And
they're like, let's
That's-
go hollow on this baby.
yeah. Though it's too bad they didn't. So anyway, we get like we basically just get a retelling of the Song of Orpheus, like the myth, with the endless mixed in. You know, like it's that's it. That's basically, you know, and like we find out a little bit more about Orpheus, I guess, because it's not implied that he becomes headless, but and lives forever in that form. Might be wrong about that.
Oh.
Am I wrong about that, Chris? Like, is
No.
that part all made up by Gaiman?
No, that is all from the myth.
Well, I know he gets ripped apart, but his head survives?
His head survives.
Oh, shit. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not even... Well, shows what I know. Okay. Well, you got a better grasp on all this. Like, let talk us into this here.
Yeah, you know all about Aristeus?
Yeah. But this is the thing. I'm trying to like... I think part of my disappointment with this one is, as James said, it's a very straight retelling. We talked about this when we talked about the Calliope episode or the issue, that if you kind of just throw the endless into a straight retelling, it's probably not going to work. And I feel like that is what happened here. Like I don't like the endless showing up here and just like destruction's showing up, like just calling everybody laddie, and you're like, what the fuck? Like why would you say, like, everyone would just look at you so weird, you know? Like it just doesn't make sense. And then I don't know, I think the first part is the most off-putting, and it's the way that fucking satyr is drawn, that shaggy fucking goat man.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I knew he was up to no good right from the get.
Oh God, but he
Who's
wakes
the artist
Orpheus
on
up.
this?
Is that Talbot again?
Yeah, it's Talbot. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like sleeping naked. Orpheus is sleeping naked, and he's just standing over him in bed. Like, I don't care what you're into. That's gonna be off-putting no matter what.
Yeah, that's
Just
just his
grabbing
buddy,
him?
though. No big
Yeah.
deal.
just between bros,
Yeah.
hands of his
He's good.
tunic.
Just give me a little soft rub while I'm nude on my bed of hay, just to get me going in the morning. Thanks for coming over, Aristeus. Fucking bastard.
Yeah,
Creep.
that's right. This is obviously a future rapist.
Oh, clearly the whole time he's just looking, and he's breaking like the fourth wall all the time. He's looking at you. He's looking for a good raping.
So it's funny that you say that, because you're not wrong. But in volume 2 of the deluxe editions, I think it's volume 2. There's some short stories from Vertigo Winter's Edge from 1993, and one of them is Neil Gaiman and John Bolton, and it's just a story about this satyr who's like, he's like showing his dick to like a bunch of chicks, and they're totally into it.
What the fuck?
And it looks beautiful, like, and he's just like, you know, it's basically like this guy used to fuck all the time, and it just shows him like with these endless different types of women, but he's growing old and he's dying, and then Desire comes to him and says, you know, like, oh, I didn't know there was any more of you around, this like pure thing of desire, and they give him one last rape, essentially, but it's kind of like a romantic rape. And then the story ends. Yeah. That's basically it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like she consents through like magic pheromones, you know, but we know what that means.
Satyrs are never up to any good, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway, sorry for that.
Like, why did he pick that night?
Yeah.
Why did he pick his friend's wife?
Yeah. And
There's a lot of things I'm confused about in terms of motivation for this one, but that's fine, I guess. I mean, I don't know the original story or why it's
he's
necessary.
giving that weird advice too. Like, he's just like, oh, she reminds me of my old wife. Well, people die, you get over it. It's part of life.
Yeah, I like how he's drooling when he's going for the rape too.
That's right. He is.
Oh yeah.
Little fucking.
Fucked up.
It's like he's eating chicken tenders. He's just excited about the whole prospect.
I think that okay, so without spoilers to like about future events, the fact that it is a satyr that sets off this this chain of events and this creature of utter desire, and given desire's role in everything that we're going to see coming, like both which we've seen in the past and which we see going forward, this story like sort of implies that Desire's been playing the long game, like the really long game.
Are you
right,
saying that
that's
Desire's responsible for like ruining Orpheus's entire life and basically like decimating him?
Yeah. Well, because clearly, I mean, like it's on his wedding day. He's enraptured with her. He's hanging around with his horny goat boyfriend, and yeah, things. You know, it's of a piece. You know, like desire it's a kind of a Buddhist thing. You know, we saw it in we see it in all of Ito's work. You know, the desire as an agent of chaos, and so it's kind of appropriate that this is the first time that we also meet destruction, and it seems like destruction has a hand in all of this as well, in the sense that he puts Orpheus on the path to death in order to like go get. How am I saying her name? Eurydice?
Eurydice.
Eurydice. Thank you so much. I keep trying to pronounce it like Italian.
Yeah, he puts her on the path to go get her back.
Yeah.
Or
guys,
yeah,
before we
try
move on,
to, which.
Oh yeah. Okay.
again
Yeah.
is-
Sorry.
I just have to bitch about like just the artistic choices here. Why does she look like the Bride of Frankenstein? Why is
She looks a bit like Sherry Moon Zombie.
yeah,
She's
does.
beautiful, Chris.
Why is the satyr clutching his junk when she runs? Please come back.
Cause she fucking does him in with a fucking kung fu knee. You didn't catch that?
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't
She,
catch- oh, she did. You're right. I did
Yeah,
not
yeah.
catch that.
She gets
Yep,
him with
you're right.
Street Defense 101.
yeah.
That's good honor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
There are some weird choices. Artistic, like Brian Talbot. I really he's most famous for like Luther, or not most famous, but I mean at this time he would. I think I said this last time he got brought up. This is kind of his first American big show, and prior to that he's like a British ground level comics guy doing Luther Arkwright in 2000 AD, and he has a very specific sensibility, but it's not. I don't know if it's perfect for this. Like it was really good for the August story, but something that requires more phantasmagoria.
Yes.
He doesn't have it. He can't do it.
Yeah, she was also wearing shoes earlier in the story, and also I have a little bit like why is everyone barefoot in Rattler country or whatever? I don't know.
I don't know if sandals would have stopped that, but maybe you're right.
I mean, I guess she took them off. A lot of girls
She was
take
dancing.
shoes off during weddings.
Yeah, she was dancing with her pals. She's trashed.
Oh my god. The scene where Morpheus is like, I don't dance. Like again,
Yeah.
it's just so like it's just incongruous. It's just stupid.
I do not dance, not even with you, my wife. Yeah. He doesn't, but honestly, why couldn't he? Like, what is
Yeah.
it about him that like he couldn't do some sort of weird fucking dance, right?
And he looks like one of the bad guys from fucking the Green Inferno too. Like, nice job, Talbot, you shitheel. He looks terrible.
Oh man, I don't know, that's not fair.
Well, it doesn't look like Morpheus.
Yeah.
It does pick up a little bit after that first part.
Yeah, it gets awesome. And then when Orpheus goes on his journey. He's got a lot of spunk, you know, he's got a lot of heart. It's too bad that he's rewarded for his fucking troubles.
Well, he's such a whiny bitch, you know. Like it.
That's true, too.
Speaking of incongruous, like he goes on this 1,000-mile trek, right? You know, like, and he's this pacifist, and he's cold, and he's only wearing a skirt, and a cloak, which is a nice combo. I wish we could wear that nowadays. And yeah, and I don't know. That's some tough guy behavior, and
yeah,
doesn't really match his personality.
He just powers through it.
Yeah.
I like how he rolls into Death's apartment and it's like
Blows his fucking mind.
it's just like a shitty one bedroom.
Clothes from all over the place.
I haven't cleaned up. Yeah, you're right.
I like her, and I like that portrayal. And then she does the whole like more comfortable if it looks like fucking. I don't know what that's like from Beetlejuice. Something.
Yeah. That's the vibe.
Oh my god, absolutely.
And then he goes straight to hell, and then he gets fucking duped by Mr. and Mrs. Satan, which is not the Satan we saw before, and it's just confusing and weird. But whatever.
So that's straight out of Greek myth. Hades and Persephone was like a mortal woman who went down to the underworld and was kind of duped into becoming his bride.
Yeah,
that's okay, I guess.
The idea. Well, we've already met in Season of Mist. Like we've met other
Satans.
Well, yeah, other underworld gods. I think we have anyway. Maybe we haven't.
Yeah, we did.
Either way, like yeah, it's not there. It's not that there's not that we need to hammer this out or whatever, but like I get the impression that hell is like the underworld. Because this is a universe in which like the Christian God exists because it's a DC comic, and of course, but there's also these other, like other hells. I think you see it in any comics universe, really. How many different devils are there, like Mephisto and?
Oh yeah, usually you stick with one in one fucking book.
Well, why would you bother, man? It's a kaleidoscope.
Yeah, I
Christianity
guess so.
doesn't even exist yet.
That's fine. Yeah, I guess you're gonna. Yeah. I mean, mix it up. Why not? I guess we're jumping dramatic timelines.
Yeah, that's actually something. So this is 3,000 years ago.
So you could have different rulers. I mean, I guess that's what he's going for.
I don't think he's thinking in those terms. It's funny how much you want to like assign.
I'm so mad. I'm like, just assign the devil to me.
Yeah, just like, but rules in general. You're like soft places explain some stuff, and I don't think this book operates in that manner. Like it's not interested in.
Keeps telling me that there are rules, but there's no rules.
It's true. There's rules. I think there's rules of conduct. There's rules of conduct, though. It like that's it. Like rules of honor and decorum, and maybe some rules about entrances and exits. And that's kind of it. And then otherwise it's just kind of shifting, and that's the core of these stories, is that like social element. And then otherwise it's a dream world.
I love how my guy looks back. The fucking great. What a great ending.
Yeah.
just the worst.
So close.
Why would you do what the devil told you not to do? Well, I mean, saying that out loud doesn't help it, but
yeah. Well, he thought that I don't know. There is something very human about that, though. Like that doubt. You walk for miles and miles and miles, and you don't hear anything behind you, and you just have to have faith.
Yeah, and there's also something perfect about getting tricked by the devil. I guess it's the best.
Yeah.
And I like that he turns into like a character from The Preacher. And just like
he's all grizzled.
Starts fucking like looting in front of some bears and shit. He's like, fuck off. This is how I roll. You're freaking out my friends. Is this true history? Is this Greek mythology?
Definitely, yeah.
This is how the guy rolled. This
is how it is. It's a pretty straight retelling.
Dark times for this guy. I don't know. So depressing. He's like, Mom, not right now, okay? And then he just then he gets basically like then the next upcoming stuff is like right out of Crossed or whatever.
Yeah.
Come for him. That's great. I don't know. Oh fuck,
Yeah,
it's awful. It literally is.
Yeah.
Garth had to have fucking channeled this.
Or what? Just the idea of the
Or
Furies of.
yeah, some of the art, and just been like, maybe.
Drink wine with us, make love with us, eat raw flesh with us.
Yeah.
Nope, I'm not into it, ladies. There's only one woman I love, and that's
I like how he chooses this path though, because like his mom's like literally like, we gotta go. You're gonna get fucking. This is this is what's gonna happen to you.
yeah, it's a suicide for sure.
Didn't pan out.
And yeah, and it's a tragic suicide in that because he just turns into a head after that. Like he's got nothing and just floating around in the ocean, found by his dad.
That panel's so good where she just clubs him. No, whack, and then it's just like cannibal fuckfest. Like,
yeah. Yeah, so and then Morpheus walks away and father.
And then
That's some
Morpheus
cold
intervenes on the snake.
Yeah, right? You're right,
man. You're not helping. Are you helping? You're not helping. What do you? Come on.
Yeah.
May as well just let the snake fucking bite him in the eye while you're at it. It's not gonna make him any worse off.
Maybe he was worried it was going to get devoured, like swallowed. Like that snake's not big enough for that, though. I know snakes like really disjoint themselves, but yeah, you're right. I guess that ultimately shows that he does care in his own Morpheus way.
Yeah, like the
does he? Because then he like props him up on a sandbank and fucking itches him.
There you go, just a little above the tide, and maybe someone will find you. Well, he gives it. Yeah, go on.
No. I was going to go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, he gives like some dream to a priest, and the priest goes and finds him, and then he ends up on the island after that, like a sacred treasure. I think that's what happened. I think that's explained somewhere. So he does intervene in a sort of way in which your dad sort of gives you an allowance, but doesn't want to talk to you anymore.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, what were you going to say, Chris?
I was just going to say, I liked Destruction, like kind of pointed that out to him too, right? Like that your dad loves you in your own way, in his own way.
Right.
But
yeah.
I love that he laughs at this kid, and then there's that we talked about this before, but Gaiman just has this distrust of art and artists, and another callback to that where he says, like, I think that you love her more, or you're more in love with the idea of your dead love than you ever were when she was alive. And he just like is laughing in his face, and he takes it personal before he sends him on the path to find death.
I like that Destruction, who we haven't seen up until now, is shown to be like a ginger Orson Welles, like this big jolly terrifying Viking type guy. Not that Orson Welles is a Viking guy, but the I like this. I like that depiction. Once again.
Oh, he's such a great character.
Yeah, like Gaiman, I got this. He's good, and he knows how to at least in this story, he knows how to craft. I guess in this case, it's interesting contrasts because, like, what are you going to do with Destruction? Like, you've got a couple options. You can be the mad bomber, what bombs at midnight. He can be sort of another dark figure, like Morpheus, or you can just like, what's the opposite? Like someone who's friendly and jovial. He kind of does the death thing with her, actually, but only like male and bigger.
Yeah, he almost kind of does like I've seen like some renditions of Thor that are kind of similar to this.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Although he's not a fool. You don't get the impression that he's a fool at all.
No, none of them. You don't get the impression that any of them are fools, really.
Yeah, except for Delirium, but she's the fool. She's
delirious.
Yeah, kind of unknowable.
Right. So we can talk about.
We got a
now.
shit sandwich,
and then it's gonna roll.
Sorry, Chris. Did you shit
I was
sandwich?
We're gonna end up with a real shit sandwich here. The Hunt.
Right.
And then the delightful Ramadan. And
you guys didn't like The Hunt.
No, I hated it.
Oh, that's interesting because it was the first. So I've been reading about fairy tales, and I've been reading actual fairy tales, like it's stuff that was compiled, in the era of Brothers Grimm, but not Brothers Grimm. And this was the first story that Gaiman up until now has talked a lot about fairy tales and in these comics and evoke them at a different register, at the different like C.S. Lewis or something like that. This is the first of the stories that we read that I can remember anyway. I'm happy to be proven wrong, but this is the first one that actually feels like a fairy tale and operates. It's too long to be a fairy tale, but it has the same sort of logic and feel. Oh no, we've seen it once before. We've seen it with those two guys in the desert, the initiation ceremony, when
Right.
that was fairy tale-ish in a way that this is. So I
And
don't know.
when Gilbert tells Red Riding Hood the darker version of it, but it's not
Right,
a whole
yeah.
issue.
Yeah. So this is there's actually, for a book like this, you would think there'd be a lot more of it, but it operates at a different sort of mythological register most of the time, or is fairy tale-ish in the sense that it well, actually, here, fairy tale protagonists are recognizably ordinary working people, toiling at ordinary occupations over a long period of history before industrialization and mass literacy. Well, so cut out that last subclause. And that's kind of what we see in a lot of Gaiman stories, is like these stories, these interactions between gods and ordinary folk in the way that you might see in a fairy tale. But anyway, but you see very few things that actually feel like proper fairy tales. Yeah. Anyway, so I
It's
like
literally being told as a fairy tale, also, like
yeah,
to his granddaughter or whatever.
Yeah, Vasily.
Yeah, I thought it was really neat. The kid kind of reminded me, he had like a Conan attitude, kind of.
Right.
He was just sort of like it was like sort of like bullish and intent. He was kind of like and just intent on like reaching his goal. And they did I guess there wasn't a lot to it. He met his own townsfolk and he used the old woman's treasures to sort of barter his way through mystical scenarios. That's where your Baba Yaga came in there, Doc.
That's our lady in her mortar. That's
in
so
the
weird.
house, just fucking walking around, and then she flew him over because she had the right prize to give to the Baba Yaga. And then all of this like led to, after reading did I read the Satyr story before this?
I have no idea. Probably.
I don't think so. Anyway, maybe I did. But anyway, I thought he was going for another rape. You never know with Neil. But or some kind of weird courting, and it ended up being a very honorable sort of twist at the end, where he just returned her charm to her. But then it, again, invasively woke her up nude in bed as well. But
true. So, Chris, what didn't you didn't like it? You obviously hated it. You said.
Yeah.
What's
you know what? I didn't even mind. Like I there's an interesting idea behind this, and Gaiman talks about this in the interviews, where he wanted to do this sort of like traditional finding the princess tale, but with a werewolf character. It's kind of reversing those sorts of things. It's a good idea. I object to this Princess Bride fan fiction bullshit of the framing device, which is on and on and on. Then with walls of text within the story, it just took forever and didn't add enough, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean for like the duration of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The art was so great, though. I just tolerated it. I don't know.
I don't think it's as like, I didn't find it as objection. Like, I hear where you're coming from, Chris. Like that's a valid criticism of this comic. But I didn't like it the first time I read it, but I ended up reading it a second time because it wasn't sticking in my memory enough. And yeah, the art really gets me through it. I like what Duncan Eggleston's up to here. I think this is good. And then I think, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a temperament thing because, like, it is annoying when there's like the conversations between the granddaughter and the grandfather don't have the stink of realism to me.
Yeah.
And that takes me out of it a little bit. But then,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
sort of a Princess Bridey part. I see.
Yeah,
I see what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
There's I didn't realize until we started doing the series that Gaiman is Jewish. But he says that part of the intent here, like people criticize this comic for not capturing the banter of like New York Jews. He said that he was really trying to go for his own, like the British experience, like his own grandparents, and that there's a different pattern to it, which is interesting. And I do, I can kind of respect. I mean, I can definitely respect him bringing in his own experience into this. It's just altogether, it just was a lot, and I didn't find the payoff to be enough.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, does she know that she's a werewolf?
The girl who like challenges him in the woods, like you're too slow, like you're holding on to these treasures.
The idea because at the end,
princess.
No, Vasily's a werewolf. I mean, he's implying that he is. He definitely is. Yeah, and so does she know? Because like they talk about the people.
Yes, they know. Yes, because in the opening. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't pick that up that she knew.
You know where you see it is when he says like, if you don't shut up, I will rip your throat out with my teeth.
It's true.
And then, when you go back and like put it all into context, it's like, oh yeah,
right.
They know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that did stick out to me as weird.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I guess that's just the way they talk in that family.
Brienne's so salty.
Yeah. It's not sexist at all.
The werewolf stuff was like very subtle though. It was just at the end that so.
You'll like this, James. Apparently there was an original panels that they drew where they were supposed to be like werewolf sex. Like the guy was like human, like running with a wolf, but then Karen Berger was like, nope, you got to redo this. So like he felt like the overall effect didn't come off at the end.
It is a little smeared. It looks like it's not a bad panel as far as like, but I don't know why Vasily's looking at us while she's kissing him and there's like wolves playing in the background, and it's not great. That's not what sex looks like in my mind, but
it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got a couple choices there, right? Like Chris was just saying, like, you could go bestiality, or you can go like just like dogs humping in the woods because they chose to do the old husky style werewolf, which I'm not a fan of. Or I guess you could go like American Werewolf in London wolf sex, which would have been god awful.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of good ways out of that, if you want to do wolf sex. There's just not. Yeah, well, there's not a lot of high watermarks.
Yeah, but they chose like none of the above.
They did. They backed right out. They backed right out of the whole thing. Gave 3 confusing panels and then made you go back and consider the whole fucking thing.
I feel like we should maybe give like a complete like what the plot is in case anyone doesn't.
Oh yeah, sure.
But just basically this guy decides that he finds a locket of a beautiful princess, decides he's going to marry her no matter what. Storm makes his way to the castle through a bunch of trials and stuff, and then realizes all along that this woman isn't for him and that he should stick with his own kind. Who's this? There's this like woman hunter who was also a werewolf, who was like kind of taunting him and one of the obstacles he met around the way, and then he goes back and like naturally he's supposed to be with her. So
that's interesting. Like I'm not sure I got that the reason he denied himself the girl in the locket, like kept in the tower or whatever. I didn't get the sense that it was because he felt he should be with his own kind. Like maybe I missed that. It struck me as like Dream really liked this guy because he was able to control desire and delay gratification, like in order to like allow his wishes to not be granted. There was that was it. It was just an exercise in self-control, like in the sense like that maybe James was talking about Conan, this idea that, you not that Conan denies himself anything. Let's be clear.
No,
and why would he need to? Right?
He just doesn't have to.
Yeah.
He didn't need. It was almost like, for me, I thought
he's a gamma or whatever.
I almost read it from the start that he was just felt like returning the property of that girl. Like, I don't even know that I picked up on any of that other stuff.
But that makes a weird story. Like, why?
It
why
does.
did he do that?
I don't.
But that's why it's so fairy tale to me, because reading these fairy tales, like, what the fuck is the point of any of these things? Like, none of them make any goddamn sense other than, well, sometimes they make sense. Usually they're revenge stories or about some woman who threw her babies in a ravine and gets, I don't know, cooked in a pie or some shit. Like that makes sense, I guess. But a fairy tale doesn't really have to make a whole lot of sense. That's the point.
Yeah, I do like that they have this conversation at the end this is where I'm taking my reading of it from, because the granddaughter says, I get what this is about. This is because I'm dating someone who's not a werewolf. This story is sexist, it's insular, and the moral is that people are happy with their own people. Big surprise. And it is that sort of like postmodern commentary on this legend. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's actually about the grandfather. It's sort of like his own story.
Yeah, well, it's implied. Yeah, it is there is, like, at this time, and still up until now, like one of the first reasons that they collected fairy tales was to establish a sort of nationalist insular tradition. Like, we're German and not French, and we'll show you our Germanness through the collection of fairy tales.
Yeah,
our authentic folk. Yeah. So
no coincidence that Nazis and fascists turned to folk traditions, right? Like,
and so, since I'm sorry, I'm not telling, especially as someone who's married to a PhD in children's literature, this isn't news to you, but the I mean, there's lots to criticize there. Like, there's lots to draw out of it, and it was kind of, my sense is that at this time, in like late 70s through the 80s, early 90s, like, this was what you did, like, within fairy tale studies. It was kind of de rigueur, and maybe that's my awesome French right there. The I think, like, reading a little bit about the scholarship surrounding fairy tales, and I mean, like, really, like, a little bit. This book, Gaiman and the Sandman, like, it's really of its time, and I feel I kind of take it in that sense and kind of forgive it a little bit for that, because it is 1992 and not 2023.
That's fair.
Yeah. Anyway, what do we got? What's the last one here?
Parliament of Rooks.
Yeah, James's favorite.
I don't even want to talk about this.
What's interesting about this one is you kind of said that, like, there's nothing to it. It's it really was kind of a tune-up for him working with Jill Thompson.
Yeah, because this was issue 40, and then after this, the next trade paperback we're reading is Brief Lives, and that's Jill Thompson. And similarly with Sean McManus, we got those issues before A Game of You, that Sean McManus issue with the 3 Septembers into January. That was a tune-up one too. And again, would have really liked to have read these in proper order. Can't say that enough.
Yeah, it might be a breath of fresh air, right? If you're just kind of like getting it once. I like her art in this. I think we saw her maybe as a bit of a mismatch with Grant Morrison in Invisibles. But here very well suited to working with Neil. The little death and Morpheus, I find that disgusting. Like, and apparently it's a big hit. Like, it's just like, just makes you want to barf. But apparently people loved it, and of course it was great for merchandising.
Yeah, man, plushies, the birth of plushies and fucking Funko Pop.
Exactly.
Look no further. But it's not the first time this has been done. There was Little X-Men as well in Chris Claremont's run in a Mojo story. I feel that's true, like in one of the annuals.
That sounds right.
Yeah, there was the little X-Men, so it's not the first time. Yeah, you're right though. This story is one of those. I don't know why he felt compelled to tell this story, but he clearly did. So it is a framing. It's a story within three stories, and each of the three stories is told by an old DC Comics framing device. Cain, Abel, and Eve. Because they had their own comic series essentially way back in the 70s with their horror comics. And so like kind of something clever's happening in that sense. And we get something a little more about the three witches, which we haven't gotten a lot of.
I did like that. I liked the kind of like the telling of the way that Adam and Eve sort of thing was manipulated into the three witches. Outside of that, I don't know. I guess the coolest moment for me was just Cain braining Abel with the fire poker and just shoving him headfirst into the fire. And then the rest is just, I don't know. I'm not sure what happened.
This one, it's a story about audiences, really, kind of, and I don't really know to what effect. But again, I guess it's just exploring that idea of storytellers and stories. And the audience is Daniel, which may have more payoff later, James. It may make a little more sense to why this is happening as we get towards the end. I
hope so.
Yeah. I did like the character moment. I guess there's something about retelling stories here too, and that I like the moment. You have Abel telling this cutesy story about their relationship, the first murder, and like Cain's pretty livid about it. It's just like crap, like you're dumbing it down for children. But through this displacement, like something emotional is happening through it. And to the point, I like the reaction at the end of the story where like Cain won't look at it. He's just kind of staring into the fire at the fire poke. He's still trashing it, but it's like clearly something's happened there.
Yeah. I've thought, I guess we could also talk about Disney here. We could talk about like the commodification and fucking dumbing down and softening of fairy tale and myth for the purposes of making a buck, right? Like,
yeah. Except Neil's for it here, really.
Well, why not, man? That's how you do it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much Neil, like, the more I learn about this, the less I think Neil had anything whatsoever to say about anything other than the story. Like, why did Fables and Reflections have its title? He wanted to call it like Accountings and Reflections, and they said nope. It's going to be Fables and Reflections, and he was like, I don't think it was his choice to smush all these stories together and collect it in the way that it was.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, so I don't, it's kind of a cute idea, and it's perfect for Jill Thompson, and like whether money or they must have thought it, because I know Alan Moore. Sorry, going off on a tangent here, but I know Alan Moore, whenever he pitched a story to DC. Well, I don't know this. I don't know if he did it whenever, but he definitely did it for the unrealized crossover Twilight of the Idols. In his original pitch, he's describing how like we can pitch role-playing games out of this. We can pitch that, like he's thinking about marketing as he's making the pitch. So like maybe it's on Gaiman's mind as well. I don't know. We'd have to read the script. Either way, it's a small portion of the overall story, and it's kind of fitting that it's Cain because he's so simplistic and such a dupe.
Well, and Cain was
Abel.
Abel was ridiculous. Both Cain and Abel were intolerable in their actions and speaking and in their aesthetic on the page, and it really lost me.
That's fair. Yeah, this is not my favorite. I meant like, oh man, I would have been so frustrated, like, because it's Marco Polo right before this one, and I've just been like,
yeah, you would have fucking quit.
I don't know how like I don't know whether I would have stuck around with Sandman like as an audience. Maybe I would now.
Like, what
but
even
like I'm
is
yeah.
Yeah.
you get pulled back in. You skip a few issues, and then you'd be like, all right, I'm hearing great
But I
things about
wouldn't.
this
But I
arc.
wouldn't be able to, right? Like it would be 2 months of shit. And I
And
like
was
and
this
if I
was this Franklin Richards? I'm so confused.
did Daniel, he's the kid from The Dreaming. You know when the Sandman, that lady, she's like he was Morpheus shows up and he's like, look, I'm gonna get your baby later. I'm gonna
Oh
come
yeah,
back.
yeah,
That's
that's
right.
right.
This is that baby.
That's great.
Yeah.
I-
Yeah, we like it doesn't. I don't know what it adds up to. Anyway, I don't know if 2 months of this shit would have really enough goodwill had been established at this point, but I don't know.
If you would have scored the Ramadan,
Oh yeah, Ramadan. We got Ramadan left. Okay,
then you would
yeah,
have maybe kept going because that was beautiful.
that's issue 50. Yeah, you know what? I didn't like this one.
What?
Oh,
Yeah,
get out of here.
no, I'm totally serious. It all it was for the most part is just like, and Al Rashid, he had a bunch of stuff, and Al Rashid in his city had a bunch of stuff, and oh, did I mention that they have a bunch of stuff? Oh, here's some more stuff. Oh, we're gonna go down some stairs and look, stuff, and then at the end he makes like a little bargain, like a suicide attack bargain with uh, Dream in order to keep all of his stuff, and that's it. And then the little kid hears the story about the guy who had the stuff. Prove me wrong.
Yes, I mean, I just think it was like one of the nicer and more like experimental art
Looked great.
pieces
Yep.
that we got treated to. Also, like I only just started sort of learning about Ramadan very recently, so I thought it was neat.
Yeah.
In that sense, I guess you already know about all that it's not that neat. But yeah. I don't know. I always sway for the art, so
Yeah. No, I think that's exactly it. This is the most, apparently the best selling, the most successful single issue of Sandman. We have to take it, I think, as a totality of the art lifts so much in this. Like it's P. Craig Russell's depictions are gorgeous. It looks awesome. The coloring is subtle. It just lights up.
So I have a more cynical explanation for why it sold the most ever, and my answer is because it was June 1993 and it was issue 50. That's it. Like it had a double fold cover, right? And it had and Sandman's big, and you know what? Maybe if I get issue 50 and if I kept it for a long time and I got a bunch of issues, they would appreciate in value over time. Yeah, it's a speculator market.
You think this baby is fucking Spider-Man 2099?
Yeah, I do. Like not I'm not saying that the art's bad. I just think about it. It's 1993, man. Like Spawn is number one. No one's coming to this book and elevating it and paying for it because they think the art is good. It's issue number 50. It's a hot book.
It was a fold-out cover.
Yeah,
you're probably right. I can't dispute that. Actually, it makes too much sense.
Yeah, it's a great comic. Again, I didn't like it, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess it was a little, it was a little Aladdin-ish also.
Yeah,
if you want a negative.
That's not a mistake though. Yeah, Chris probably is going to say something about this.
I wasn't really. I was going to say that I don't know. There's a lot to say about it. Like you got to sidestep the Orientalism of it, obviously, but that's fine for our purposes. I don't know. The thing that struck out to me most is the ending where you get that intrusion of the real world, which is very un-Sandman-esque. The sort of kid walking in this bombed out Baghdad here, and
why would Baghdad be is it the Iran-Iraq War? It's 1993. Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out where this is, and I'm not certain. And again, that could just be my ignorance about the state of Baghdad in 1993, but it doesn't strike me that it would be this. Feels this is somewhere else, right? Yeah. So I don't know. So actually, the one thing that I latched onto in this is like obviously there's a connection to the Arabian Nights. Al Rashid is like where 1001 Arabian Nights. I think he's involved. That takes place in his palace or some shit. I don't know. I've never read the Arabian Nights. Probably should. And so it's that whole Orientalist fairy tale tradition. Like Gaiman can't leave it alone because he's going to be doing Chaucer, he's doing Shakespeare, he hasn't done Boccaccio, but I don't know. He's touching on all the names, so you can't leave this alone. And it's kind of the story about. I took it as the story of like, because I was thinking about it in British literature, and I was thinking about the connection between Baghdad and the dream realm that Alan Moore makes a lot out of in his spoken word performance, Snakes and Ladders, about what's his name, W.H. Machen. I think I don't know if I have his two initials early, but there's just this idea that connecting Baghdad to dreams and this sort of eternal realm, and it's how that sort of British sensibility of Baghdad was incorporated into the dreaming and maintained within British literature that Gaiman would have grown up with, and also it's almost literally the realm of Orientalism within the dreaming. Within like it is the the purposeful preservation of the Orientalist dream within. Well, I'm going to repeating myself, within the dreaming, and I don't know, to that extent, I found it. Again, it was one of those moments where I had, like 3 Septembers and a January, it was sort of meditative, and it kind of it has a larger political message, Gaiman often has a larger political message, but it tends not to be. It's usually sexual politics or something like that. But this felt a little more, I don't know, not hard hitting, but I don't know, something. Anyway.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to recreate now because you're right. Like at the end, like there are these planes flying overhead, and you're like, I was like, oh, okay, Iraq War, but you're right. It's like, where is this? How would this work?
Yeah.
I do like as a point in the story's favor, that it is presenting, the kingdom as a place of learning and wisdom, and that's something you don't see so often in the mathematicians and astronomers, and this, we wouldn't have a lot of knowledge if it wasn't for the sort of Renaissance that went on in Arab countries at the time, right? So I love that it's bringing all that into it. It really is trying to do a respectful job of it, even despite the tradition that it's inherited. And again, it's speaking of larger messages, we got another. It's a story about stories. It's this. All of this is going to fade. The glory that we've built here isn't going to last. So how do we do it? Well, done. Like, here's a legend about it. Here's a story, and it's going to inspire people later on, and it's going to sustain them when things aren't looking so good.
Yeah, and it's kind of also about a king abdicating their throne in the way that August, pardon me, or it was called August or Augustus. Anyway, he kind of abdicates the throne as well, and in the way that, and also Satan abdicates their throne, and it's a thing that's been in the background, and not really sure he's abdicating, because I guess he's actually saying, I want to be king forever. But
yeah, I think he's tricked here. I think it's sort of like he thinks it's going one way, like you'll preserve it forever. That's great.
Right.
It's like, okay, I will preserve it forever. It's going to be a story.
He did make
right.
the deal. He specifically made the deal with the Master of Dreams. I mean, he's going to preserve it in dreams.
Yeah.
And after all that sort of like coy, like the whole time he's like, he's going to throw down this fear of that Solomon used to bind all the demons. That would be annoying. Like, shut up, let's stop it. Like,
Yeah, these nuisances. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a little ball of nuisances. It wasn't a big deal to him anyway, but he just pockets it.
Yeah, and then he's kind of like
fun. It's funny how that particular king had the ability to transcend realms and interfere, though. It was a
yeah. I guess because they'd amassed so much, right? He knew that he had something that was a gambit.
And he is the king of Baghdad. You know, he's the sultan or whatever. And it's in all that stuff, he figured out how to interact with the. You know, he learned some special magic, I guess. I don't know. Again, I didn't think about it too much. Like some people can summon Morpheus.
And funny that the religion was on, like the Ramadan and the religion was on display for the whole issue. It's sort of the undoing of their sort of Renaissance and stuff, isn't it? Like,
I suppose you're right. There is a decline at the end, within real terms, like the memory is preserved as a dream, and then when they bring him back to his palace afterwards, it's a little shittier. It's a little grubbier, and if I remember correctly, I don't have it in front of me. I feel that that's the case. Yeah, there is.
Yeah, the carpet disenchants.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm finding it. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, the carpet disenchants, and the streets also look a little shittier. And his palace is all cracked and fucked up, and he looks confused.
Yeah.
And he looks like sort of run down, and the city doesn't seem to be what it was, or what it. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, the glamour's gone. It's kind of like what we saw with the Fairy Kingdom. They've left the realm, and they're being maintained within the sort of unconscious as something that you tap into, or like some sort of rich vein of storytelling potential that gets, like, certain elements of the dreaming are those bits of rich storytelling potential, those major themes that we come back to. So yeah, it's kind of an origin story as well. We talked a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're gonna take the shittiest trade paperback and have to break it into 2 episodes.
What the problem is? It's not the problem. The reason we got to talk so much is because, like, each issue is a different beast, and so we have to establish the premise and go over the art, and like in a larger trade paperback where it's like like next time we talk about this, it's going to be Jill Thompson's show the whole time, and it's going to be one long narrative, and that takes less time to talk about, strangely, but it does. The next time we're going to have an episode this long is probably going to be World's End. That's the next series of, but it's going to be interconnected one-shots and much more satisfying as a result. But it's probably going to be a similar marathon. So, but we don't have to. We get to take a little break before that. Any last words?
No.
Oh,
yeah.
We're all out of.
No more words.
Thanks for asking, James. Okay. All right. Well, until next time, everybody. Hope you got something out of that. Fuck.
Now, all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.